What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the lobby. GameSpot's weekly video game hangout. We're here in Helsinki, Finland. I'm just kidding. This is our normal San Francisco set, but as you can see, we redesigned some things. We have a new desk. We have lights. We have 4 people on the show, which is the biggest cast we've had in a while, and we're going to try it out and see how it goes, and then if it doesn't go well, I'm going to kick Jake Decker here off forever. This is Jake Decker.
Did you build this table?
Yes.
Cool.
Well, no.
I can imagine without Jake, you're going to have a really big space to just spread your arms out on the desk when you really want to make a point.
No, I could put that. Was that the lobby when we were talking about the Japanese body pillow? Or is that a different conversation?
That was something else.
No? Okay.
That was on one
Sorry,
of
weird
my
night.
anime
A lot of
videos.
dreams last night. That's Kelly Plaggy over far away from me.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. I don't have a body pillow
No.
yet.
You two were talking about Zelda a lot before we started the show, and you didn't bring your Switch in here, though, like some nerd next to me.
No, I
Prove
didn't.
it. Prove it.
You have it somewhere. This is Pete Brown,
I'll never tell you where. Hello.
GameSpot reviews editor, I think, still.
That's what they tell me.
You gave Zelda a 10 out of 10. I don't know how to question your judgment anymore. Anyway, and I'm Mike Mahardy, your host. And yeah, so we're pretty excited about our new set. We're going to be still redecorating a few things as time goes by. But we're happy you could join us. As usual, we have the YouTube and Twitch chats up. So we welcome any feedback, any comments. And I also have a lot of Twitter questions about our topics today. And we have a good show in store. So looking forward to getting into that. But first, I have a few news items. And I do have a giveaway. We are going to be tweeting from the GameSpot account. We have 5 Funko Evolve figures that we'll be giving away. Evolve is Xbox Games with Gold this month. So we figured it'd be a good time. You know, we're emptying our our vault here at GameSpot, the Nick Margarita Memorial Library. So we have 5 Evolve figures. It's the 4 starting hunters and then the Goliath monster. And we will be tweeting that from GameSpot's account. I don't have the figures here with me, but we will. You just follow GameSpot, retweet that, and then later on in the week we'll pick a winner and we'll send those to you if you're in the U.S. But yeah, I do have a few news items here before we get into our show. There's a new Rocket League mode, which I'm sure, Pete, you're excited about.
I'm stoked.
You said you were checking it out.
It's awesome.
You played it?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
you were at
played it.
PAX. You played it.
Yeah,
Tell us about it
him.
quick.
So, I mean, it's
Not quick, actually. Take your time. I don't know why
I was about to rush
you.
through it.
I love talking about this game. Let's do it.
So they said they kind of got the idea from volleyball. A lot of people wanted volleyball, but it didn't quite work in Rocket League, which makes sense unless your aerial game is really on point. But basically, instead, what you
Aerial
want to
game?
do... What?
No, sorry.
Anyway, what you want to do is you want to basically... It's called drop shot, and you want to spike the ball into the opposing side, and when you do that, part of the map lights up. Once you hit it again, it'll fall away, and basically how you score a goal is by spiking the ball into one of those holes.
Okay.
And it's pretty cool because as the game progresses, more of the opponents, more of the sides start to fall away, and there's more room to shoot. And after each goal, like if I score a goal on you, then your side gets fixed, but mine doesn't. So it kind of keeps games closer too. So when we played, like almost every game was like within 1 point. We even had like a couple overtime games, but I was on the winning team every one. So.
Do you feel like this has maybe like more longevity compared to something like the basketball mode or the other stuff they've introduced that has maybe got us excited at first?
I played like 5 matches of hockey.
Yeah. Like this stuff like sounds awesome in theory and maybe even for a few matches, but do you feel like this thing's got legs? Like it'll keep going?
I think yes. I mean I think classic Rocket League is still going to be the way to play. That's going to be the way most people will play. But I think what this has going for it is that you'll have closer games. You don't need to be a pro necessarily because the way it's designed that like when you score, your side still stays the same, right? So that means the other team has a chance to catch up, has a chance. So I think just those more tense matches can bring a lot more to it.
So that is Rocket League's drop shot mode. It will, our lead by Scott Butterworth it drops on March 22nd. So that will
Sounds
be
like
on
a
all
Scott
platforms
lead.
for all players. Yeah, that's Scott Butterworth. So yeah, you can play that on all platforms in, what is today? In a week.
15th.
Yep.
Dang.
So we'll be getting into that, I'm sure. I'm sure maybe we'll have an excuse to stream it. Also, as of yesterday, Battlefield 1's They Shall Not Pass expansion it arrived yesterday as a free update. A lot of patch notes, kind of a big update actually. But it's the first paid expansion. And They Shall Not Pass, of course, you can play as Gandalf from Lord of the Rings fame. No, I'm kidding, you can't. Don't take my word for that one. That will be available for everyone else to buy in 2 weeks, but apparently, as of now, if you have the $50 premium pass, it was available yesterday if you want to play that. And apparently, yeah, it's pretty big, but we have the full news story on GameSpot about it. We did a stream that you can watch. Here's Spencer, Kalen Mulder, and Aaron Sampson were playing it yesterday. Seems pretty big from what I've seen. Have you guys played? When's the last time you played Battlefield 1?
I haven't played it in forever.
Before I played Titanfall.
Yeah. Titanfall came along and took all my time up. Pete, did you play much Battlefield 1?
Nope.
No. But it adds the French army and 4 new maps set in France, 2 new operations, 6 unlockable weapons, 4 melee weapons, a new behemoth, the Char 2C tank, and the Trench Raider elite class, and also a new mode called Front Lines. So yeah, you can check out, we did like I said, you're watching our stream here on the lobby footage right now. You can watch that. We archived it. We also have more coverage about it. If you want to know more about it, you can go read our news story on GameSpot.com. Cool. Also, something I'm excited about, Resident Evil Revelations is the next entry in the Resident Evil series coming to Xbox One, PS4. Last year, Resident Evil 4, 5, 6 kind of periodically released for PS4 and Xbox One. And now Revelations, which follows Jill Valentine through that freighter, previously just Nintendo 3DS entry from 2012, if I'm not mistaken.
It was ported to Wii U and
360.
PS3 and 360
right.
as well.
So, yes, but now it is coming to PS4, Xbox One this fall. So I'm pretty excited about that. Just to pimp something I do every once in a while. Mary Kish, former GameSpot producer, and me are playing through the Resident Evil series. We are on Resident Evil 4 right now. It's taken us a while. But yeah, you can go watch. It's called Resident Knievel. Look that up on YouTube. We are almost done with 4. We're about to fight Krauser, if you guys are familiar with the game. Do you remember Resident Evil 4 much?
Krauser. No, I do.
It's a knife fight.
I played it back when it came out on GameCube.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, and I don't have a memory like yours.
Oh, here it is right now, Resident Knievel. This is her fighting Salazar. She's been getting better at this game. Sick
But
dodge
still
right
not
there.
very good, though?
No, still pretty terrible. I hope she's watching right now. She's over at Twitch now, so maybe she's watching our stream. But anyway, so cool. I just wanted to get through those few smaller announcements. Now we can get to our show, the meat of it. We're talking about Mass Effect Andromeda today. We can talk about the first couple hours, first mission and intro. I don't know how to explain it. We can get more into that later. We're going to talk a little bit about Zelda. I know we've talked about it every week in the lobby for about 4 weeks now, but there's a lot to talk about with that game, and we're going to be talking more about behind-the-scenes stuff. Nintendo released this about half-hour documentary, 3 episodes that we can talk more about. There are a few cool stories that came out of that we wanted to talk about today. And then Ghost Recon, now that our full review is out, Miguel Concepcion gave it a 7 out of 10. We can jump into that soon. We have Jake here who's played a decent amount of it. I played a little bit of it, and that's kind of the newest Ubisoft open world, as it were. So, yeah, again, we are here with you. If you're on Twitch or the YouTube chats, we have it right up so we can, we can have you join us. And cool, let's get into it. Jake.
Mike.
Sell me on Ghost Recon quick, because Miguel's not here.
Sell you on Ghost Recon.
Like I said, Miguel Concepcion's review is up. He gave it a 7 out of 10 on GameSpot. We had a review in progress up the week beforehand, but it was a big game apparently, bigger than Miguel expected and a lot of us expected.
Yeah.
Super lot of content.
Yeah.
Apparently.
I mean, here's what I can say. If you plan to play this co-op with friends, you will probably have a good time. It's still janky. There's still a lot of Ubisoft things like not unlocking different parts of the map because it's all open right away, but you'll find intel, do different missions. But if you play by yourself, it just feels like a not as good Metal Gear Solid 5. Not nearly as good Metal Gear Solid 5.
That's the comparison everybody's making, and maybe it's because it's this militaristic open world shooter, but what, in your experience, does that have weight, that comparison with Metal Gear Solid 5?
I think it does. I mean, Metal Gear Solid is a little more wacky, right, in its own sort of weird Kojima way. Mm-hmm. While this tries to be more grounded, but it kind of isn't at the same time, and it just doesn't have that sort of charm. Not that it's going for that. I don't know. It just the direction doesn't make a lot of sense at times. But it's tactical. You can choose how you want to approach things. You can drive any vehicle, fly any vehicle. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of room for experimentation. But at the same time, I'd rather be playing Metal Gear Solid 5.
Wouldn't we all?
Is it one of those multiplayer games that's fun because of the people you play it with? Or does it do anything to facilitate a good co-op experience?
I mean, I wouldn't play with random people. That's definitely a way to play. It does a good job of putting you with games with other people, and I don't know, like you can warp to your teammates, so that makes it easier, and you can kind of plan things out. But I wouldn't want to play this with randos because they'll probably just run in and screw things up without that sort of communication. It would be tough. And plus, like, this game is kind of screwy, I'd say. So playing with friends and screwing around is probably the best way to play this, just having fun.
From what I hear, even when you're playing with like a team of your friends, you still hear the voiceovers of the characters that they're portraying.
That's really weird. And like they're not even really portraying them because those characters are like set characters in the game, like they're your squad mates. They're supposed to have personalities, but then they get replaced by your friends who are just like random crazy looking characters, but you still hear the voices of your teammates, which is...
Do they like make it sound like it's over walkie-talkie in that scenario, or does it still sound like they're just right next to you?
I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it still sounds like they're right next to you. It's really weird. It's like you take a place, like you like infiltrate like a cocaine
hideout.
I don't know. Yeah, hideout.
A secret
Where is this cocaine hideout? Just I'm asking for a friend. How's it compare to The Division, right? Because this seems to be the thing that Tom Clancy games have been doing lately, aside from Rainbow Six Siege. But The Division, being a new IP, was this co-op focused, open world, more kind of like MMO leaning, almost like Destiny, kind of blend of shooter and MMO. Whereas Ghost Recon, like you said, seems like it's going for that open world emergence of a Metal Gear Solid or like a Breath of the Wild. But here we find ourselves in another open world game from Ubisoft. How does it compare to The Division, like with your experiences between the two games? Because you played a fair amount of The Division, right?
I didn't play a whole lot of Division. I played enough to say that I think this game is very different than The Division. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's still like similar sort of idea, like, like military shooter sort of, even though Division wasn't really military. But like there's no bullet sponges. It's not really a loot grind so much. Like you still find different weapons, but you're not like, oh, I want to get that. I forget what the colors, green, purple, blue, whatever. Yeah. You're not like looking for like rare loot necessarily.
I hate this.
Dude, he's being real brutal,
what's just kill him or move on.
Yeah.
I also hate your haircut. What, like, as far as the story goes, from what I've seen and from what everybody's said.
Oh, don't ask me what it's about because I have no idea.
No, I mean, you're just essentially trying to take down you're in, is it Bolivia?
Santa Blanca, yeah.
Yeah, and you're trying to take down the drug cartel, which, have you seen the movie Traffic or literally anything else about the drug trade, it's not going to work.
I mean, is it like generic South American drug cartel?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
The Bolivian government, I think today, like it came out that they've filed a formal complaint against Ubisoft for the way they've portrayed Bolivia.
No, are you kidding?
No.
This isn't so.
I'd probably be pissed too.
I don't know if you guys remember, but when I think Rainbow Six Vegas came out, Las Vegas was pretty annoyed with them. So maybe Ubisoft just likes to piss off
Vegas.
Entire
sucks.
Cities.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Watch Dogs 2, though, everyone was kind of like, yeah, that's about right.
For being like a microcosm for San Francisco.
Yes.
Just like the dude jumping out of bushes on a, what's the bush guy? Plant guy? In Fisherman's
the
Wharf?
Bush guy. He passed away years ago.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
The original dude.
There might be someone there who's like taking his place, but the original guy passed away.
An imposter.
Oh, there's like 6 people lining up to. I shouldn't be joking.
I got the
about
call, honey.
We're bringing up Joni. She's ready. It's her time. But from what I've heard, Ghost Recon's dialogue kind of leans on frat boyish humor, from what Aaron said.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
I won't repeat
like
some
a
of the
lot
stuff,
of dick jokes.
but like it has like no place in the game, like, and it doesn't make sense. It's like, but why would you say that? Like, there's, it's really weird.
Isn't there like one like kind of like vulgar phrase that they repeat like throughout?
Yeah, sea holster, which I don't know what mean with that. Like,
Sea holster?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say the actual word.
Oh no.
Yeah, they say it like you get shot and you're like, holster, and I'm like, what? That doesn't.
There are 2 C words you could be talking about, but yeah, I know.
I know.
Saying.
Okay.
I don't get it either.
The phallic one.
Yeah, like you put your. I think we can.
Yeah, we
But-
can all imagine
yeah.
what that means.
You don't get that?
I mean, I get it.
Chicharron? Is it chicharron? Is that it?
That's it.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand
Chimichanga.
why they'd be saying, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Seems
really
weird.
Not really like an expletive. It's more of a name you would call someone.
Right.
Yeah, it's an insult.
Yeah.
But like,
Depending on how you
that's
take
not it. Like, that's the one you hear a lot, and that's the one Aaron in the office likes to talk about. But there's a lot more that just like don't make any sense at all.
He said there was like a lot of like dick talk.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Do you feel like the actual narrative is worth pursuing to get through the game, or are you just
No.
more like interested in fucking around?
I mean, it seems like the way the narrative is built is that you're not really gonna pay attention much to it. You know, like it's kind of just meant to do at your own pace, do what you want, kind of screw around, like see what your friends are doing. Like basically, when you join a co-op game, you can redo old missions, you can do any mission in any order.
Okay.
So they were kind of going for that, like even with the story, that sort of emergent gameplay where you kind of like do things as you please.
Yeah.
So, and the story suffers because of that, which, I mean, I wouldn't play this Ghost Recon because I want a good story though. Like you play it because you want to screw around.
But Tom Clancy's an author, man.
It's true, but
No,
Yeah.
Tom Clancy,
I know, he's
Tom
got
Clancy
nothing to do
name
with this,
means
yeah.
nothing
I
on
know,
these
I know, I know.
anymore.
Yeah, we did that lobby segment a few weeks ago about like are Tom Clancy games losing their identity because
was
it
my
feels
idea.
like it was your idea. Yeah, were you on it?
No.
No, I think I called you out and told people it was your
No,
idea.
you
But
said
yeah,
it
we
was
were
your
talking
idea.
about whether we actually think because Rainbow Six Siege started off as a tactical shooter, and I think that actually I like Rainbow Six Siege a lot. It just seems like they're kind of pursuing these trends now, and after playing more Ghost Recon and seeing how the Division kind of seemed to be cashing in on that Destiny flavor of game, does it seem like Ghost Recon is kind of pursuing other developers' trends rather than trying to set it apart from itself?
I'd say so. I mean, it reminds me more of Grand Theft Auto 5 than The Division. Kind of like that GTA Online. GTA Online has become something completely different now at this point. There's a lot to it, and I know people who still play it like can vouch for that. But Ghost Recon just seems to focus on co-op, but it's very much like screwing around like you do in GTA 5 Online.
Okay.
GTA Online.
Well, if you want to know more about Ghost Recon Wildlands, we have our full review up on GameSpot. Miguel Concepcion gave it a 7 out of 10. You can go read that. We also have streams we've done, which we've archived on GameSpot or YouTube. You can go watch a lot of video content we've done in the game if you want to know more. It's been out for a week now, as of yesterday, like a week. So let us know what you think. Hit us up on Twitter. Tell us what you think of the game if you've been playing that amid all the other releases, some of which we're going to get to today. But leave your thoughts in the comments, and we'll try to respond to them. All right. Let's talk Zelda again.
Let's do it.
All right, so Pete brought to our attention yesterday that
Failed to follow through on.
yeah, Pete comes up to my desk yesterday and says, "Hey, got a good idea for a lobby segment. Nintendo is releasing these 10-minute episodes behind the scenes making documentaries of Breath of the Wild." So I say, "Cool, let's all watch that so we can talk about it." Jake and Callie watched it.
I watched the whole thing.
I gave these people homework and they didn't do it.
I watched all 30
If
minutes.
this was third grade, I would put you in detention.
Dude, I went to art school
You
for a
don't-
reason. Okay.
No, that's not. That was
you
high
don't
school.
have detention in third grade.
In third grade, they
You get a pink slip.
they put you in that closet where you can't eat for a day.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Did you guys not do that in third
Yeah.
grade? No? Mm-hmm. Okay. But yeah, so we want to talk about that. Some cool stories came out of it. I wrote down notes, but it's worth watching. I don't think there's anything revelatory, but there are some cool things behind like the art inspiration. That's one thing I want to talk about. But just like where the influence came from, because like as great as that game is and fantastic, we've talked about it. Pete, you gave it a 10 out of 10. You can go read the review on GameSpot.
I did?
Yeah. And we did an episode of Reboot, which I'm going to plug right now. Jake and I have been working on this new show. If you missed like Daniel Dwyer's The Point, that's clear inspiration for us, more of opinion editorial show series. And then bi-weekly show. Our most recent episode was on Breath of the Wild and why I personally think it's like the best open world game ever made, and it sets a new benchmark for other games. And I think it does things that The Witcher didn't. And I think it does things that Metal Gear Solid 5 didn't. Not that they are all the same game in any way, but I think open world games moving forward can learn a lot from Breath of the Wild. We did an episode about that, and it was pretty cool for the documentary because they talked about how, like you start with Skyward Sword, right? It's just open air concept. Although it was kind of masking the fact that the world below was very, very, even for a Zelda game, segmented.
Right. And so I did watch a little bit of the first episode, and they talked about the open air concept like almost at the start. And it's been something they've been trying to capture since Wind Waker.
Yeah, because with the open, like the seafaring
Right.
travel.
Yeah, but it seems like up until now it's been hardware limitations and the team size. Now, not that the Switch is like a crazy powerful console, but it seems like just enough for them to capture their vision. And then they had the biggest team behind a Nintendo game ever. So I think those things kind of came together for them here.
Yeah, and they said, they wanted to recapture the feeling of exploration, which they've been saying since the beginning. But when we first heard, because when they announced this, correct me if I'm wrong, Link Between Worlds was not even out when they first announced the concept for Breath of the Wild, right? Because
Right.
they said when they announced it that you will not have to do dungeons in a certain order. It'll be open world. So we're like, how the fuck is that going to work in a Zelda? Sorry.
You don't even have to do the dungeons.
Right. And we were like, how's that going to work? And then Link Between Worlds came out, and we're like, oh, this is cool. Like, they take a Link to the Past formula and show us how it can work with this top-down view. But still, we've never seen like a truly open world Zelda game before. Comes out, not only is it just open world, but it's also this like physics engine that you can. I was reading through that NeoGAF forum last night, the craziest things you can do in Breath of the Wild that a lot of people don't know. I think I'm like I'm 45, 50 hours into the game at this point, and I was still reading things I had no idea what you could do.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the classic things like this. They said they wanted to maintain a lot of the Zelda tenets. That's the footage they chose to show, was the chickens in Kakariko chasing you after you like knife a couple of them. Knife one a couple times. But yeah, they said they took, when they first showed, they did the GDC talk a couple weeks ago, and they were saying that to show the concept, they took like this 8-bit original Legend of Zelda look to show how the physics engine could work. With the thing they showed was, obviously you get the raft in the first game and you can cross the river, but they showed how like a log floating down rather than this item you get could help you cross the river. And then you play Breath of the Wild and it's, you're chopping down trees and you can roll the trunks or you can use the trunks to cross these ravines. They said that physics engine was a huge focus. And they said, and I agree, that in execution it ties you to the world a little more, right? There are these overlapping systems, and then, like I was saying, people come in every day, I feel like, still, after how many weeks after it's released, and we're all at least like 40 hours in, we're finding these new things. It was very intentional on their part that you could find new ways to approach the situation.
Well, they tie into, I think, the most basic actions that you do in the game, which is simply just, tied to exploration in general. Like, you don't have to wait to get to, like, say, Metal Gear Solid 5. You don't have to wait to, like, confront enemies before you're doing the creative stuff, right? Like, you can be creative at any time in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and in the documentary, they specifically call out that they wanted everything in the world to interact, and that's how they got that feel, like the consistent discovery you get. I mean, like you said, we come in every day and someone found something new, or like a moblin threw a bokoblin at me, or whatever it is. All of that is because they put a lot of their effort, technically and as far as overall direction goes, into making things interact together. That was one of the most interesting parts of the documentary for me.
When they talked about the open world, I think it was known before it came out, didn't it? I think we had a news story in GameSpot about how the geography of this Hyrule is based on Kyoto.
So I think, we published something about that.
Or was it when who'd you talk to recently?
So the three directors that have been represented here.
Fujibayashi?
Yeah, Fujibayashi, but there's two other guys, and I apologize for not knowing their names. I actually wasn't really aware of them until the interview. But I mean, like, based on Kyoto is kind of loosely. I mean, the thing about Kyoto is that it's still sort of steeped in tradition compared to a place like Tokyo. And so you do see, like, even when you're in the city of Kyoto, it's not hard to get to an environment that feels like nature still has some hold on space. So I think that's kind of what they were mentioning. And one of the more interesting anecdotes, sort of talking to them about, like, okay, well, this made me think about even just going outside my front door differently. Like, I was looking at even just like twigs on the ground, and I don't know why. Like, what is it about this game? And they're like, well, one of the things we wanted to do was recreate that feeling of being like a child at school, right? Like, every day you walk the same route, and you get to understand, like, not just landmarks, but like what those landmarks contain. And so you have this really deep familiarity with your environment and what you can get out of it. So that's not really the Kyoto aspect of it, but it's sort of just telling, like, how deeply they thought about making even something that looks like empty space interesting by packing it with very subtle activities.
Well, one of the developers in the documentary is talking about how because he's from Kyoto and because Nintendo is based in Kyoto, he thought about it as like, okay, I'm so familiar with this city that I know how tired I would be if I walked across the entire city, and that's sort of where that Kyoto inspiration comes from, as far as like the depth of the world and how it feels to walk across, if you were going to walk across the entire map, which sounds freaking impossible. And so that was a big thing. And then the other thing I really liked, just going off of like the Kyoto being steeped in traditionalism, was they were talking about the art style for the Shika culture, like the ancient cultures, was based off the Jomon period, which is a historical period in Japan that not a lot of people outside Japan know about.
Which is crazy because it's like 12,000 years long or something, the actual period that when you say Jomon, it's like actually 4 different periods within it.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I can't remember now, but the point was, we're taking inspiration from something real because it's such a mysterious time period in our history that not a lot of people know about. So it's not going to kind of evoke, connotations of any culture that people really recognize readily. I mean, that's another Horizon comparison. Is there's lots of things in Horizon that evoke cultures that we know and see today, versus this is something that a lot of people didn't really know about before, and I didn't know about before watching the documentary. And so that's where all the smooth surfaces and kind of like when you open a shrine and the doors kind of open in that I don't even know, it looks like Jenga almost. All of that comes from the Jomon period.
Yeah, it was interesting. They were saying also, like, when you were saying who do they work with to like work on the elevation of the map?
Monolith Soft.
And that's huge between the glider, the paraglider, and the fact that you can climb almost anything. There are a few surfaces you can't climb, but very few. Like, that makes the game feel very different. Like, the actual, again, I say this all the time, but it's not open world for the sake of it. It's like they actually recaptured the joy of an open world game in that just exploring is fun. I don't feel overwhelmed. I know there's 2 more divine beasts I have to get, and I know there's a desert I haven't even gone to yet. I know there's like this whole mountainous area with, the Rito, the bird people up there, and I don't even care because I know I'm going to get there, but I'm enjoying this traveling. It makes the art of moving from one place to another fun again.
Where so many games design their open worlds to funnel you into something in particular. Like, yeah, there are those aspects of the map here where it's like, okay, I see a path or I see a canyon, but you just can go anywhere and find something interesting.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a Korok seed, there's that moment of like, okay, wait, what else is out there? If I just took a left here and found something random, I could take a left anywhere.
Yeah, I keep getting so distracted. Like, I'm working on guide stuff, and I have a mission in mind that it has been artificially created for me. But I still, like, I take an extra hour to go do something because I just can't stop myself. And like I think I said several episodes ago, it reminds me of that feeling of playing Ocarina for the first time and seeing Death Mountain in the distance and thinking like I can actually go there. I can walk all the way there, and it's that times 1,000.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say one thing. I think Peter touched on a little bit, but the landmarks are like so important in this game, and they're so cool because when I went to talk to some people at CD Projekt Red about The Witcher 3 a while ago, they were saying how when you make a big world, landmarks are very important. Like, that's how you get around without like just looking at your map the entire time. And this, like, I rarely open my map because there's all these landmarks everywhere. Like, you walk out and you're like, okay, so Death Mountain's over there. Like, I can see the Rudo village. Like, they've got that spire over there. There's some towers around here. And just that kind of helps add to that sort of immersion, that sort of level of exploration.
It also does a really good job of, it's not all of a sudden a desert from a grassland. You see this transition area where it's like, oh, it's kind of getting these crags and ravines and the vegetation is fading away. Maybe there's a desert this way. Or you see your thermometer slowly dropping. You're like, well, I'm heading north, but I'm also like increasing my elevation. If you're not on Death Mountain, it's just getting colder. It does a really good job of tying all these areas together. Like, I know this river is going to eventually lead to, the lake, so I might as well follow it rather than looking at my map. And you can also, like, looking through your viewfinder is big. You could set waypoints through your Sheikah slate, the telescope, and that's huge. And I like that they didn't. One thing I think Horizon did well too, and which Mass Effect does not, from the 2 hours I played, and we'll get into. It was kind of reminds me of Arkham Asylum in that I was always in detective mode, and then in Mass Effect I'm always. I hate pulling out that scanner. Yeah, Zelda does a really good job of not forcing you into the map, even though you kind of feel like you're revealing the map, but it's not. It's not like Far Cry, right? You go to this radio tower, and then all of a sudden these side quests all pop up. It's
just showing you the land, right? You
like
still
a
have
cartographer.
You still have to find the activities there,
Yeah.
and then you are deciphering like what you see on the map.
And I really liked when they talk about the behind the scenes thing about their concept of Link in this. I really like the idea that for the first time, you're not this hero that was just chosen. Like, you're not one of the ancestors of this hero. You are this hero who you yourself failed in this quest, the same exact quest 100 years ago, and now you're back for a chance at redemption, essentially. But I also really like that they said you can make Link not really that heroic in this game. You can fight bokoblins in these underhanded ways by like blowing up these barrels when you're sneaking around or steal their weapons first. You're not this noble charge into every battle with your sword and shield drawn. You can be this like little dick.
You can also just say, sorry, Hyrule and Zelda, I don't care about you.
Yeah.
And spend over 100 hours in this game anyway. Like
Yeah.
you can close the book on this game without finishing it and still feel 100% satisfied.
Yeah, Dan Anderson on Twitter was asking what our opinions on the divine beasts and dungeons are in Breath of the Wild, and we can get to that really quick. But I also don't really think of every other Zelda game I kind of judge by its dungeons. I think Twilight Princess, for as much, Jake, you and I were replaying it recently, and I don't love that game as much as I used to. And I don't think I'm going to like a lot of Zelda games as much as I used to, of course, because Breath of the Wild came along, but they're still great for their own reasons and for that Zelda formula of, 8 dungeons, you collect all these kind of arbitrary items that allow you to go fight Ganon at the end, or, Aghanim, whoever it is. Did I pronounce that correct? Aghanim?
Yeah.
Yeah. But Twilight Princess itself, I was like, it actually has great dungeons for as slow as the overworld can be, but now you have these 4, major dungeons, these divine beasts, but they're not actually that long. The first one,
Right.
I say the first, but you can do them in any order.
A lot of people did
Zora.
a specific one first. Yeah.
Yeah, the Kakariko Hateno Village Trail kind of leads you to Lineru, where the Zora are.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought they're well designed. You can actually, I don't want to spoil too much, but you can actually mess with the dungeon in cool ways.
Yeah, that is the crux
Yeah.
of all of these dungeons. I like the fact that they weren't too long.
Yeah.
And they're not filled with like, you got to find a key to open a door to find a map to get another key. And it's just like
Yeah.
none of that stuff, which I actually grew kind of tired of as Zelda's went on. So here it was more just about really looking at the dungeon and considering it for how it presented itself to you as is, and then manipulating it to accomplish these little tasks.
And I'm a lot less intimidated to start a dungeon. Like if it's like 11 p.m. and I'm like, I should probably go to bed.
Sure.
I'll do one last shrine. Partially because that gives you a fast travel point when you complete a shrine, so that encourages exploration too. But also they're so self-contained, and I always found that if I just took a breath and looked at it, it wouldn't take me too long to figure it out. But I would pretty much always be satisfied with solving whatever it was. And so I like that they're self-contained, and it kind of fits. I've played exclusively in handheld mode, and it also fits that style for me really well.
Yeah.
I love the dungeon design, or dungeon, quote unquote.
Yeah, Bob Jones, the Twitch chat, was saying he just ignored the first village, Kakariko, which is kind of your first real objective of the few you have. After that, they kind of just let you loose. I mean, they let you loose right from the beginning if you want to. Once you get off the plateau, which kind of serves as the tutorial, but a very well-made tutorial in that you can, I say tutorial loosely because they're not holding your hand like a lot of games do now, like a lot of Nintendo games for the past few years have, and specifically Zelda games have, especially like Skyward Sword. The one thing people dislike about that is Fee, your companion, kind of like solves puzzles for you in some ways. And this is the...
Well, plus the intro to that game was like 2 hours of
Yeah.
teaching you what a video game is.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, Ocarina felt fast because if you know where to get the Kokiri sword, you can go get that really quick through that small labyrinth, through that crawl space, and then you can go buy the Deku shield once you get 40 rupees, but that was quick. And then you go right to the Deku tree. Now, Link, you're in these boxer briefs. You're staring out over this world. Go. Just do whatever you want. I mean, obviously, there are a couple things to kind of guide you, but it's not... It respects your intelligence.
Yeah,
and
it's
the
not
fact,
prescribed in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so that's... Someone was asking... Forgive me, I missed their name, but in the Twitch chat, if you think, like, Far Cry games would be better without that, map littered with side quest notifications. I can't, because you can turn those off, I think. But again, I think open world games going forward can look at Zelda. Granted, it was a huge team that made it, but not everyone might not have the time. And also, Nintendo was pretty good with, I think a huge reason they wanted to hold off, because they said in the documentary they really wanted to get early 2016 release once like the time came up, but then they're like, we'll just hold off. I'm sure the Switch release date, once they knew that internally, they kind of dictated maybe you should release Zelda as a launch game.
That was, yeah.
It's a good move because people are buying Switches left and right. I think it hit 1.5 million sold yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is huge and good because I don't know what the Wii U is at this point. How many weeks after release? 2?
I think it's 33 million over its lifetime, which is...
And now we're 2 weeks after the Switch release and it's already at 1.5.
Yeah. I might be wrong with 33, but I think that's what I saw.
Impossible to get one, too. So.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? But... but anyway, I encourage you there. Like I said, there's nothing revelatory in that behind the scenes doc that Nintendo published, but it's worth watching if you really like that game and just want to see more about it. Also, you should watch our reboot episode. It's called, what do we call it? Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is the open world game we need.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it's been, I've taken a couple days off because I've been playing Mass Effect Andromeda, which we can only talk about the early hours right now. We'll get into that in a second if you're here for that. But yeah, go watch that behind the scenes documentary. Nintendo published it. We have a lot of Zelda content up on GameSpot, so you can go watch that. Jake's done a lot of stuff. Pete's done a lot of stuff. Pete gave the game a 10 out of 10. One of how many? Like, I think
12 or 13 in our 21-year plus history.
Yeah, the Metacritic, not to bring this up, but it was at, 98?
Right.
And now it's at 97 because of the whole Jim Sterling debacle. People are pissed off that
Just leave him
he didn't
alone.
like it. Yeah.
Everyone can have
it's
their own
still,
opinion.
it's still, I think it's an amazing game. Go play it yourself. But yeah, that behind the scenes documentary shed some light on it. And like I said, we have a lot of stuff up.
Yeah, and actually to that point, sort of some of the things the documentary is talking about, working on a feature, still kind of just trying to get it out there, about their process of, identifying nature in this game and creating it and what they were thinking. So if you like the documentary stuff, keep an eye out for that as well.
Is that from the GDC chat with
Yes,
the directors?
the GDC chat, I'll be pulling a little bit from the documentaries that they just released, and then sort of my own interpretations of what they've done.
Cool. So yeah, like I said, that stuff is all up on GameSpot and will be soon, and we're still working on a lot of stuff, so go check that out. All right. This is going to be fun because I'm flanked. Well, no. I'm flanked by I'm trying to figure out how to preface this because I've played a decent amount of Mass Effect Andromeda. Jean-Luc Seipke, who's on our TriCaster right now, producer on this show, has played, I think, the most out of anybody. Scott Butterworth has been home playing, reviewing it. I don't know how far he is in the game. I haven't talked to him. I don't know what he thinks about it, but we can only talk about the intro and the first, open world-ish, so to speak, segment.
Sure.
So, it's weird.
Oh,
we're
it's
talking
gonna
about
be fun.
Zelda. Yeah. People, if you're familiar with Pete Brown, he sometimes can be voice of
What?
reason. I think he likes to. You temper my enthusiasm sometimes, and I have to temper your curmudgeonly.
So, there's a common theme on the show where you ask me if I've played a game or a series before, and I say no, and it typically tends to be just games that I just don't really have much interest in.
Yeah.
So coming into Mass Effect, I thought, right, this is my chance to give this series a shot. I'm not worried about Commander Shepard and all this stuff. So I'm going to jump in, and I'm really looking forward to playing it. So when I'm coming in with my assessment versus people who have played all the Mass Effect games and are accustomed to all the things this game does, there are very different conversations happening in the office, right? Where I come in with this sort of fresh eyes, fresh perspective on this whole thing, and I see a lot of things that bother me. Mm-hmm. And also like, well, yeah, but that's Mass Effect, that's BioWare. Like, okay,
that's what I said at first, but I played more of it.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to excuse some of these things. It's not that I was excusing them to begin with, but it was just like you were saying. I was like, all right, it's BioWare, it's Mass Effect. I was kind of expecting this to happen, but there's certain things that I wasn't expecting to happen that left me disappointed.
Even from those first 2 hours that we can talk about right now, based on that embargo that BioWare gave us, it doesn't even feel, the more I play it, or the more I played it, it doesn't even feel like a BioWare game. It's weird. I like the combat, but I don't like the characters, at least in those first 2 hours, and I don't like the writing. You show up in this different galaxy. You have a world of opportunity before you. What do you want to do with this? And you crash land on this foreign planet, and you're like, there's this one quote from this dude who is just pissed off, and the first thing you do, you jump into combat, and this guy's shooting over and over at this. I don't want to spoil anything.
I love how you were concerned that I was going to be the one to get.
The more I play it, and we're right after this, I'm going to talk about our favorite BioWare RPGs in general, because they have done some great stuff in the past, to say the least. But yeah, you land on this planet, and it looks cool. And this stuttering you're seeing, I don't know if that is the stream or the game, because this game is the facial animations. I
think Jean-Luc just I think he said it was the game.
It is the game. Yeah, that wasn't our stream hiccuping. That was the game.
Can we talk about how awesome it is that they just flail their fingers on their little arm computers and things happen?
They speak to it with sign language and it heals their visors. But
look. Let me get into. I feel like you're struggling to articulate here, so let me jump in.
Because I'm trying not to spoil anything. And I'm trying to remember how much I can't talk about, because there's more that I don't like past those first.
So I've literally only played what we're allowed to talk about, because
didn't feel compelled to play more.
No, I it's going to sound cruel, but the experience was intolerable for me. controlling the characters themselves is such a frustrating experience because it seems as though they were animated in a way to mimic real life, like momentum and movement, but that doesn't mean it's fun or even a good way to control a video game character in a game. So when I push forward and it takes the character like half a second or two to wind up, and then I let go of the stick and they're still kind of moving forward and stuff, like, okay, I don't feel like I have really tight control over my character. That was kind of my first problem.
I don't feel that at all.
No?
The character move, maybe it's because I've played so much of The Witcher and like character movement was kind of an issue for a while until they fixed it. But like I like, especially in combat, I think the movement feels pretty good. I do know what you're saying.
It's good in combat when you have your weapon out.
Yeah,
I will say that problem is pretty much gone at that point.
But like, I guess when you're in tighter spaces, I guess it could feel a little bit smoother. But yeah, like that hasn't been an issue. Like I have issues with this game, but the movement for me.
All right, well, what do I
has
know
been.
then? No.
Well, no, I mean,
It's
like,
weird. They really push platforming on you. And here's this GD scanner. They make
all
you
their
pull it out, but
technology.
it's not even interesting. Like it doesn't give you anything cool to read. Like Horizon, I think did a good job using the focus, the thing on Aloy's head that allows her to like investigate things, kind of a la Arkham Asylum, and they did a good job of not keeping you in it the whole time because it slows your movement, so you want to get out of it and see this gorgeous world they made. And this looks cool. Everything I'm seeing right now tells me it looks like a Mass Effect game. You know, you're exploring these new worlds. You're in a whole new galaxy. You don't know what's going on. You come into it after, I forget how many, 600 something years of cryo sleep.
634 years of cryo sleep.
Starts after Mass Effect 2 when they send the Andromeda initiative with the Pathfinders and everything to find new places to live. I don't even know at that point if they know about the whole Reaper thing. I really like the original trilogy. I love the original trilogy. I played each of those games twice. Mass Effect 2 is one of my favorite games. And I'm not seeing the things I was expecting to in this game. I'm not seeing the characters I like right off the bat in a lot of Mass Effect games, you know. Well, no, the starting characters were always kind of shitty, but
yeah, so I mean the two characters you start with for your squad mates aren't that great. Like one of them I've kind of warmed up to, but the other one, like if I accidentally end up with him on a party, I'm like, oh shit, and I like back out and like reload and change because he's just boring. I don't want him in there. But the two alien characters that you meet kind of near the end, I think are PB and Drac. I think they're way more interesting.
Sounds like a sandwich.
But still, like, the writing is still kind of weak. Like, I think they're interesting, but still, like,
it's not even the dialogue. It extends to the plot as well. Like, in the beginning of the game, there's a pretty significant thing that happens, and something is thrust upon you, and it just, like, it happens so fast. And the weight that you then carry does not feel like the characters earned it in any way. Well, if you're playing a he or she, whatever. But yeah, in my experience, this game is just kind of like, guess what? This thing happened. Now you have to deal with it. And the character doesn't seem to like even like care. And everyone around him is.
They look like they care for the wrong reason because their eyes are creepy. And
their eyes are very creepy. There's really poor lighting on the eyes. Everyone looks like there's just dolls that have like some sort of like weird. Like seizures happening.
And again, if you're just joining or if you missed it when I said earlier, this is based on like the first couple hours. So I have played much more than that at this point, and I think Jake, you said you played past that as well.
Yeah, about an hour past it.
And I really, really hope that I will get to the end of this game and be like, wow, thank God that it got better after those first 2 hours, and thank God it was phenomenal after that. That's what I'm hoping. I'm not like, I don't want this game to be bad, but a lot of small things, it seems like it just feels like rushed, like we were worried about. Like I think, you know, like I don't know what might have come down from EA, or I don't know what happened. You know, there's like studio shifting, which happens in AAA development.
Sure.
BioWare Montreal worked on this. This is their first game as a studio. You know, like from their Edmonton worked on the trilogy.
I think the like one thing that I mean, we've only played the beginning, and I think the beginning is very slow. Like that, I think it does sort of pick up, and I think I kind of overlooked the slow beginning because I know these characters, or I don't know these characters, but I know this universe. I'm curious what they're going to do when they get to Andromeda. I want to know the politics. I want to know what's going on. But I do understand at the same time that this is this is your first Mass Effect game, and you probably don't give a shit like who these what's going on.
Well, the game isn't making me give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem.
So it's like talk about the UI, like small decisions that it seems like if they had more time they could have fixed.
It's the UI is just it's so frustrating. I really don't like it. And it introduces all
UI
these.
doesn't bother me.
What don't you like about it?
Okay, it's super dense and it doesn't do a really good job of explaining like how you go about accomplishing or even managing all the things that are available to you. Like it introduces like very quickly like, okay, here are all these classes and these profiles within these classes, and you can customize all this stuff, but like I don't know what to choose, right? Like, yeah, the freedom is great, but like I have no clue if like what I'm making is a smart decision for my own desires as a player or not. It's very difficult to feel like I have any like grasp of what the game is giving me.
It's also the fact that in the world itself, it feels just like I'm going between these. I remember a big complaint with Halo 4, which is such a weird comparison, but I remember like people like, you're just pressing switches and shooting people. That's what I'm doing here. I'm going between these consoles that will raise these platforms that I can jump jet up onto this thing to scan this glyph, to do this like Sudoku like hacking puzzle.
And people love that hacking puzzle though. In our stream yesterday,
but
like,
the
there was,
UI
like, an
barely
hour
tells
of it.
you how to do it.
Yeah,
Well, let's talk about character creation. That's the
Sure.
first thing you run into in this game.
Yeah.
And the default heroes are the female, I think, is more of a heroic face, if you will, like more of an iconic look. The male looks really generic and strange. So you say, okay, I'll make my own character. You are given the strangest looking presets to work from.
I don't know how it looks like so much worse than the characters you start out with.
It's
I don't understand. Like that was like with the other Mass Effect games, you had like Commander Shepard, like
Right.
the generic looking Commander Shepard, but you could mold him in like it still worked. It still looked good.
Yeah.
And it seems like with this, they're kind of designed for like the story is designed for those characters.
Yeah.
And their animations. While when you make a character, you just feel like you're getting like, I don't know, like a cheaper version of the experience.
Because I made a character. I thought, okay,
like what-
this I like the way this character looks. I'm gonna go with that. So I jumped into the game
Steven
and
Seagal's estranged nephew. Here.
the
Deep cut. What?
I don't know.
like one of the first
Steven Seagal took one look at this baby and wanted to give him. Okay, you can take him, Lachelle. Okay, sorry, Pete. You were saying.
No, that's fine. Anyway, when you make your custom character and you go in the game, even if you think they look great, the depth of field like changes in the camera or something because the dimensions looked way different to me like when I got into the game relative to my character's body. And the first time they opened their mouth, I was like, oh God, I hate the way their face is moving right now. I had to go back and make a new character.
People in the chat, someone in the chat, I didn't see the name, said, if you're complaining about the presets, don't use them. The character creation doesn't give you better options. Look at this.
It doesn't. No, and it's really bad. And everything is like this dial, like even if you're going through hairstyles. And I'm sorry, you know what? It is, I don't know what generation you want to call this. If you can't make physical beards on your characters, if your beards are textures, what? What? That is like a decades old problem that so many other games have fixed by now.
This guy looks like the Andromeda Galaxy equivalent of Dennis Rodman. Like this is what he would look like if he was in a different galaxy
should
where
just be
humans
a-
aren't shaped the same.
We should do a feature of people just making characters and you just trying to figure out
Yeah.
their backstory. That is. Never mind.
What are you guys liking about this game right now? Because I struggle a
Yeah.
little bit to find something that
That
I
is
really love.
something I do want to talk about.
I do like the dialogue that I have seen. Like I do like some of that. Like once I got to Tempest, right? The Tempest. Yeah, I was sort of walking around there and doing stuff. That was cool. And I kind of wish that's all the game was for me. But what about you guys outside of those things?
Oddly enough, I didn't think I'd be saying this about a BioWare game, but the combat is my favorite part about this
Interesting.
game.
That makes me nervous though. That's not why I play a BioWare game.
Yeah, and I'm all for like them upsetting my expectations. Like look what Zelda did. They said they were returning to the roots, but they like kind of
That's fair.
upset the Zelda status quo. But
I mean, they don't have to always do what BioWare has been doing, but I'm just when the most positive thing I've heard is that the combat is good. I'm like, well, but what about everything else that I wanted?
Yeah, because you said, I mean, we'll talk about it a little more in a few minutes. You said Knights of the Old Republic you really like.
Love
But
KOTOR.
it's not the combat of that game really that
No.
brings you to it. Whereas this game, I'm playing more the combat, and you can change between. Whereas before you had to pick Vanguard, Sentinel, Biotic, or engineer, or technician, or whatever. In the older games, this you can swap between them as profiles down the road, on the fly, kind of when you're doing your loadout before you go on a mission. And I think that actually works pretty
I
well. It
don't
took me a
hate
while to
that,
figure
yeah.
it out. Yeah, it's more flexible. You kind of mold your character a little more than the character creation lets you. But
I do have a question about the combat though. Is it like good in general and compared to like when you compare it to other kinds of combat, or is it just good for what you expected from Mass Effect?
It didn't feel good to me at first at all. I really didn't like it. And even the enemy AI behavior was so basic.
Yeah.
It was like I played Halo
Basic.
15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It felt like the original
Hasn't been
Halo in
20
terms of their
years.
behavior. Has it?
This has not been 20
Since
years.
Halo? When did
Halo is
I feel like
2001.
2001.
You said
We're
15
we're
or
getting
20.
there.
15.
15 or 20.
15.
God.
We're getting there.
No.
Time flies when you're shooting grunts.
I think I think the combat is good, and I think it stands on its own because there's so much creativity in it. Like I don't know, like they kind of showed it off, but like you can invest in different powers and you can use them in different ways. Like for this time, you can actually like with a pull before you just hit the button and they kind of like fly up in the air. This time you can actually pull them towards you, and then you can use throw, and you can throw them really far, which is pretty entertaining. And like there's a lot of cool different abilities that you can use. So that is one thing I do like. I do like the combat. I do like the exploration in the worlds you visit. I don't like pulling out your little thing and scanning it, but I think the settings are really cool looking, which is something that I think people will be very happy with, because people who played Mass Effect 1, it was like you can land on different planets and you'd land on a planet and they'd just be a different color.
I do like driving the Nomad.
And that's another thing. Driving the Nomad is actually, it feels pretty good.
It's infinitely better than the Mako.
One weird thing is that you have to like turn on all-wheel drive. I mean, I don't know. Some people might like that, but I
actually
don't
like
you
it
like
the
hit a
more-
hill and like you can't go up,
Yeah.
and then you have to turn it on and then go up. It's kinda
What
weird.
year is this?
You stick
Yeah.
shift.
Yeah, you have to, like,
Stick
shift.
shift to
Space.
six-wheel. Well, I call it six-wheel drive. I actually don't mind that. It's more. You can also like drop these mines to.
Shift gears for you.
Oh, I thought you were gonna do the Gimli quote. A mine, they call it. Yeah, you can do these little like hops, but it's fun. Like you can drive
But,
straight
like,
over rocks.
This looks cool to me. Like it looks kind of like, I don't know. I love the like. There seems like there's actually character to these planets. There isn't a whole lot going on necessarily. Like there are side missions and like points of interest, but because they're sort of, you know, like uninhabited planets, there's not a whole lot going on. But I think the worlds are interesting. I'm excited to explore more of them.
Yeah, I want to get to a couple questions on Twitter quick before we go on to the next segment. So Scott, like I said, Scott Butterworth, GameSpot editor, is at home right now playing it, and I'm sure he has much more in-depth thoughts about this game than we do. I know he's been plugging away at it. I was telling Jake, for some reason, I'm looking forward to playing more, and that's not something I want to say.
Same with me. Like it's weird.
For
'cause
some reason, I want to play more of this game, and I don't know why.
I was playing it last night, and I like kind of didn't really want to play it that much. Like I was like, all right, I should just go to bed. I don't want to. It wasn't keeping me up all night. But now,
And then
now
you went to
today-
bed and played Zelda in bed.
a little bit maybe.
Yeah, well, MT Vessel
But-
I get it. MT Vessel on YouTube was saying they complain nothing is explained, but with Zelda they love that there's no hand holding and the ability to explore to your heart's content. Mass Effect, you can't move forward in this game without these things being explained. It's like Zelda doesn't gate you from moving forward if you don't know how to do something. It tells you in intelligent ways later on, like 50 hours into the game, you can figure out these cool things you didn't know you could do. In Mass Effect, you can't progress unless you know where this console is that you have to press a button on that's going to raise this platform to scan this glyph before you do that another 7 times. You can't move forward in this game unless these things are explained, and they don't do a good job of explaining it. I don't need them to give me a text box, which is what they do if you dig enough for it through this codec. Mass Effect people are going to be pissed that I just said codex.
So you corrected yourself, so you're okay.
I'm fine. You can't. I'm moving from these consoles, between these consoles, to press buttons, and the worlds are cool, and
So-
I'm looking forward to seeing more of these planets. From the first 2 hours, we've seen Eos, and the Tempest is your ship, like it's
Tempest,
the
and
new
then when you
version of the
start out
Normandy, and then you
Nexus.
come in on the human arc, and then there's an arc for each race. But yeah, the Nexus is the like new Citadel, and I didn't find it that interesting.
So I don't like the fact that you are gated by like, oh, hit the button on this console and then jump here and then hit the button on the next console. I don't like that. I don't mind that it's not open right away like Zelda, obviously. Like that doesn't bug me. I don't mind that I am gated. I just don't like the reasons I am gated,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like if they found a good way to kind of tie that in, like, okay. And I think they did with Mass Effect 1 and 2. Like the way you progress, or 1, 2, and 3, the way you progressed made sense for the most part. And even like 1, if people remember, like right when you get the Normandy, it's kind of like, all right, there's 4 things you need to do. Do them however you want to do, or however you want to do it. And with this, it is a little bit more linear in that progression. But once again, I don't mind it. I just wish they had a more natural and realistic way of
Yeah, I do want
pushing
to
you from area to area.
Right. I do want to get to a couple questions. Matus Mucha, apologies if I'm butchering that, on Twitter said, is there any variety to side quests in Andromeda? Are they simple fetch quests or multi-layered ones like the one in The Witcher 3? Jake, this is a good question for you because you love The Witcher 3 for that reason.
I mean, I haven't played a lot of the side quests, but I do think they are much better than they were in Mass Effect 1 and 2. It's not like very simple sort of like, even 3 had like somewhere you'd like be in the Citadel and you talk to this guy and be like, oh, talk to this guy, and you talk to that guy and you finish it. Mm-hmm. Like there's a story to a lot of these, but
they do have additional quests.
Yeah.
Like literally that's what they're called.
Yeah.
And it's a section for like if you're bored and you want to just
so they do
grind
they
for
do have
stuff.
quests like that. To the extent of The Witcher 3, no. Like definitely not.
Matus, thank you for your question. Charlotte Cuts asks, do you think that the criticisms of how graphically polished the characters are in Andromeda are justified?
Yes. Absolutely.
I think it's an artistic choice as well that just does not land.
Mm-hmm. This is probably my biggest issue is, I don't want to sound shallow that I just care about the graphics, but presentation was huge in Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. Like, it doesn't look great now, but at the time, I remember, like, with the whole dialogue wheel and the characters you talk to, it looked great. And I felt like they kept pushing that all the way to 3. And this one, it's just like, this is next generation. This is what it looks like. Like, some of the textures and characters look better in 3.
I think there's a lot of similarities to something like Fallout 4 in terms of presentation, where it does feel like, this doesn't belong in this generation. Something is amiss here. Having played Fallout 4, I can kind of understand maybe why that is. Although even though I gave it a 9, I still think the game could have looked a lot better. It's the things I'm seeing in this game that look so good in comparison to the characters that makes me wonder, why wasn't that generosity at least spread a little bit further across the game?
Like the planets you go to look pretty cool. The art direction, like in the Normandy in the Tempest, like that stuff's pretty cool, I'd say. But just the characters fell flat.
One thing has been bothering me a lot. If the characters have dead eyes, how does...
They're almost too alive. That's the problem.
They flutter every once in a while.
It makes, romancing must be so awkward. That's just what I've been thinking
Let's
about.
go for the aliens.
I just keep thinking about that. Just go for the aliens?
Yeah.
Do they have normal eyes?
The ones that don't have...
Solarians with the giant eyes look more normal than human beings.
Yeah.
So Charlotte Cuts, thank you for your question. And then once I was a little light on Twitter said, does Andromeda's writing and tone remain childish, or does it develop as the game goes on and the characters grow?
Okay, there's one instance when we're talking about eyes and we're talking about humor that I don't know if anyone else caught it, but I was watching you play yesterday and I was like, did you see the Asari's eyes just now? And you're like, what? No. There's the cutscene really early on with, is it Ansari or Asari?
Asari.
Okay, that's what I thought.
You're just thinking of Aziz Ansari.
Yeah, I'm always thinking of Aziz.
It was pretty funny.
There's a scene where something really serious is happening, and it's really early in the game, and right before it cuts away, the Asari rolls her eyes in this super comedic fashion, and I don't know if it's a glitch of the eye tracking or not.
They come out of her head.
But I actually can't wait to put a GIF of that online because I think it's super strange.
All right.
Unintentional humor.
Yeah,
so
I think the tone is pretty similar to the other ones, though.
So those are our early impressions of Mass Effect Andromeda. Like I said, I've played more than those first 2 hours. Scott Butterworth will have his review up Monday.
Yes, sir.
March 20th. It releases on the 21st. If you have early access, EA early access, you could play what we were just talking about right now.
Tomorrow.
Right? Tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow.
Thursday, March
16th.
16th. Thank you. We have more Mass Effect stuff coming out on GameSpot. We will be talking more about Andromeda as the days go by and we approach the embargo on Monday, and then we'll have more stuff up around when the game releases next week. And I'm sure we'll talk more about it next week.
Doing a live stream too at 1 of the multiplayer.
Multiplayer Mass Effect Andromeda live stream today here at GameSpot at 1 o'clock in about an hour.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
John Luke just...
Voice of God told us to.
Some strange man in our rafters just told us that the stream is at 2 o'clock, so stick around for that.
It's going to fall on the table.
All right. So, Kelly, you didn't get to play much Mass Effect Andromeda, but you're a big Knights of the Republic fan, so I want to have you talk about that a lot. And I just want to talk about our favorite BioWare RPGs because I feel like I just was really negative about Mass Effect Andromeda the more I play it. Sorry, those first 2 hours I was negative about. But BioWare has done some fantastic stuff. And this isn't the same studio. This is a new studio, BioWare Montreal, composed of different parts of BioWare.
The Canadian parts.
Yeah.
Nice. Nicely done.
I'm not that familiar with the way their company operates.
But they've done some cool stuff in the past. I think we each have games we could talk about.
Sure.
But Callie, Knights of the Old Republic. I know a lot of people like this game. I love this game, but why do you love this game?
It's okay. So to start off, I think that it hasn't aged necessarily very well. I would like to preface what I'm about to say, but I remember first playing it on the original Xbox.
Yes.
Oh my God, what year is it? And I liked being able to, like at the time I had just like gotten into Star Wars also, so I liked being able to explore the extended universe. I mean, is it canon? I don't even know. I'm not super big into Star Wars, as you can probably tell, but I liked being able to explore the universe on my own terms mostly, and I just really liked the structure, the structure of choice. I mean, it's something I hadn't seen in a game before, really, that I'd played, and I've been looking for something from BioWare to kind of recapture how that made me feel, and I can't get that from KOTOR anymore. I downloaded it on my PC, and I was like, this game looks horrible. I can't play this anymore.
See it right there.
Of the myriad Star Wars properties on video games, this is one of those that people always say did the property justice.
It absolutely does.
I actually really enjoyed the Old Republic, the MMO that they developed a couple years back. I had to do some guides for it, and I found myself actually just playing it for fun, which I didn't expect at all.
Yeah, I dabbled in it a little bit, but again, it was just like I was searching for the KOTOR feeling, and I just couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Good God, Maying on Twitch just said, this game doesn't look that much worse than Andromeda.
Oh man,
That's not true. I didn't say
That's
it.
not true. It looks pretty bad now.
I played it on my Mac like 2 years ago. That was the most recent playthrough.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
still liked it.
my memory of it is in much higher fidelity than it actually is. Yeah, it's hard to say because it's in retrospect. I think that there's a lot of things it doesn't do very well, right? But at the time, having what I felt was like super open exploration and like story choice and a story that I found interesting was all really new to me. And I just want to get that back.
Did you play 2? Did you like it?
Yeah, I like 2. I mean, I think my memory of 2 is more hazy actually.
it's Obsidian though, right?
Yeah.
Two's the better one.
What do you say?
John Luke says 2 is the better one.
Oh, man.
Oh, I thought he said 2001. Space Odyssey.
Kubrick did Knights of the Old Republic? Yeah, Jean-Luc Seipke just chimed in saying Knights of the Old Republic 2 is better than the first one. So tweet at him, not me, to complain. Jake, what is your favorite BioWare RPG? If it's not Knights of the Old Republic, what's another one you like?
Mass Effect 2.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think Mass Effect 2. I think especially, I mean, Jean-Luc and I are actually doing, I guess I'm going to plug something too. We're doing Saddest Party on the Citadel, which is basically we're playing Mass Effect 2 and 3, and we're playing in a way where you kill as many characters as you can in
Just harder than it sounds.
I'll never
It is,
forgive
and
you.
that is another reason why I'm so impressed with Mass Effect 2 is because you build up this team and all of them can die in 2 potentially. And just the way the story changes 3, the way all the different factors it takes into account, it's really ahead of its time. And all the missions are kind of like sort of little short stories that like, it's a good way to get to know your characters. Rather than Andromeda, where you just kind of like run into them in the world. This is like, all right, now I need to do a loyalty mission with this character I don't particularly like, but I want him to survive. And then you get this whole backstory about why he's helping Shepard, why he's doing this. And it makes for a really compelling narrative. And I think that is the best Mass Effect game, and I think it is one of the best games I've played.
Yeah, that suicide mission at the end is just
It's
one of the best
incredible.
things ever. The way they build to it and the way it pans out and shows you how your choices have actually had consequences as you go through the game is pretty awesome. Pete,
Yo,
BioWare me.
I see someone talking about Baldur's Gate, and they are right. Baldur's Gate.
Your gate's balder than mine.
Whoa.
Did you like it?
Know? So yeah.
Don't die.
Back in high school, I think it was around 2002 or so, Baldur's Gate 2, maybe its first expansion came out. And that was sort of my first introduction into like the Dungeons and Dragons style RPGs and BioWare's writing. That game was very different. As someone who primarily played consoles, even though I had access to PCs, like console games were my thing, but I was really shocked to find like the visuals, though it wasn't like a 3D game, it wasn't trying to do that. Really great art style, really great writing, and depth to the combat system and character creation and growth that I really hadn't experienced before in a game. It's one of those things that I remember fondly that I would love to revisit. But those games are super dense. They're really hard. Planescape Torment, Torment Tides of Numenera, that just came out recently. It kind of like follows a similar mold. It's not made by BioWare, obviously.
Yeah, it was Brian Fargo in Exile Entertainment.
Yeah. So that game, I don't know. Daniel Starkey, a freelance writer who gave that review, gave it a 9 out of 10. And so I'm kind of enthused to play that. I've heard some other mixed opinions on the game, so I don't know. But
Very text-heavy, classical RPG, right?
Very text-heavy, yeah. Which maybe at the time for me when I was in high school, that was right. Be curious to see how it pans out now. But yeah, like BioWare's older stuff. And then I went on to play Neverwinter Nights as well, like the original version. And that game was also pretty cool. I brought all that stuff into a 3D environment.
I can't see the name of that game without hearing in my head Torment Tides of Marinara.
That sounds delicious.
It's a new Italian restaurant that opened up here in San Francisco that I opened it. What am I talking about?
There's just a guy screaming and like a tide of
All right.
sauce.
I haven't seen anybody mention this in the chat yet, and I'm both sad and
Dragon Age
excited to talk about. No, Jade Empire. Did you guys ever play Jade Empire?
No, missed that one.
I did.
Me.
Yeah. Okay, so that's why when I got into Mass Effect Andromeda, I was like, I'm looking forward to these.
Kung Fu.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the characters and everything. The characters in Jade Empire are some of my favorite. I wish I knew their names, and like this is one time my memory will fail me. I played it once, and the combat got really repetitive because it was like actual real time combat as opposed to. I mean, I guess they're all real time, but you're clicking It's a more of a MMO. You know, you use this ability, and there'll be an animation that actually attacks them. This is you're actually doing like these light and heavy attacks and these combos, and you pick a fighting style, like a kung fu style, or I don't know. You can see this. How fantastic this game looked, but I really liked it.
I'm amazed that game even got made. Like just considering the setting and everything like that, and like the style, and like considering it's a new IP, like it is really cool.
There's the Dolph Ziggler comment. That people say that.
Oh, someone did mention Jade Empire, Mike. Pay attention.
Someone
to the
did
chat
mention
more.
Jade Empire. Archangel 3371. Thank you. Sorry I missed it. He did mention Jade Empire, but yeah, it got repetitive in terms of the combat. But I liked it for what it was. I liked how, I don't know, I felt like thought because I played Knights of the Republic before this, and then I played this, and it felt like they took what I loved about Knights of the Republic in terms of characters and the writing, and they actually brought it into this cool, like, mythical, you know, like, Japanese landscape. And it was really, I don't know, I really like a lot of the characters from it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like we touched on earlier, even when the combat in these games gets repetitive, it's not really, it doesn't detract for me as much as it could in another game because I am there for the characters and getting invested in the story, if that makes sense. Was that your experience with Jade Empire?
Yeah, it was the story, the narrative, the characters that pulled me through it. If that was just the combat all throughout, I would have been bored.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it was based on like Kung Fu, so someone just said, why would you make the combat in that bad? And Kung Fu is Chinese, not Japanese.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've been biting my tongue.
You can correct me. Call me out. Do it.
I get tired of doing
Vodka.
that.
Yeah, because you have to do it so much. And then, yeah, people are mentioning Dragon Age. Who wants to talk about it? Jake, did you play Dragon Age?
I played a little bit of Origins. I played Inquisition. Did not like Inquisition, but that's all I'm going to say.
Callie, do you like any Dragon Age games?
I tried Inquisition.
I played the first game.
Do you like it?
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't finish it, though, unfortunately. I was back when I was freelancing and struggling.
Yeah.
Games for fun were not a thing.
Jean-Luc loves Dragon Age Origins. I think he's dying inside. That we're not
It's
talking
really
about
good. I like Dragon Age Origins. I did not like Inquisition as much. I played like 80 hours of Inquisition, but I didn't really like it that much.
Played 4 hours of that game. That's just nope.
I made a dwarf. He was my first character in Origins. I played Dragon Age 2 as well. Didn't like it as much. But Dragon Age Origins, like I said, that was one of the pinnacles of BioWare, right? It's the overarching narrative was great, but these, like Jake, you were saying, Mass Effect 2 was good at these little short stories that you kind of get to know your characters through. I think this game did a good job tying those together with an actual good story. And of course, you know, your choices have consequences in this game as well. But anyway, yeah, I think Mass Effect Andromeda is taking a little too much from Dragon Age Inquisition and how you explore, and I'm not liking it. It feels like an empty world, even though I keep exploring it. I've only been to one planet that I can talk about, but I've been to more that I can't.
Couldn't that planet have been a little bit more exciting?
Yeah,
Or interesting?
that's what I was saying. It's a different galaxy. Why are we?
Yeah.
Why is this just this same fungal thing we've seen in a lot of sci-fi now? All right. That is all the time we have today. But yeah, we will have more of Mass Effect Andromeda coverage up. Multiplayer stream today at 2 p.m. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we have that giveaway. Evolve is like free games with gold now, so we figured we give away some of those Funko figures. They're more detailed. They're not Funko Pop like figures. They're Funko made like action figures. They're really cool. It's like the 4 original hunters and the Goliath monster.
Are those the figures you walked up to my desk and said I have more figures for your Pikachu collection?
Yeah, they look nothing like that electric rat. But we are giving those away. So a few times in the chat, Shiva, who runs our Twitter, she posted the link. But just retweet, go follow GameSpot if you don't on Twitter. Retweet that tweet, and then later on the week we might pick you and you might get those. There's 5 of them, and we'll send them to you. And then there's, like I said, Mass Effect Andromeda stream today at 2. Thanks so much to everybody in the back. Jean-Luc Seipke, Eric Tay, Richard Lee. Like I said, we're still decorating our new set, but this is kind of how it's going to look from now on. So we appreciate you stopping by as always. Thanks for all the questions you sent in. We will be covering Mass Effect Andromeda throughout the week. Scott Butterworth's review will be up on Monday, the 20th. So you can come back and see what he thought about that game after playing the entire thing. Oh!
I just see a change in colors.
Someone has a remote in the back for these lights.
Oh, I'm sitting on it. Sorry.
Are you farting and changing the colors in this room?
Purple. Not this room.
Blue. Make it blue. I like blue. Reboot colors. Give it to me. Yeah. Go watch Reboot. It's our Jake and I working on the show. We did one on Zelda. You can go watch that. Also, Mass Effect Andromeda.
Wrap this up.
Shut up, Tay. He's telling me to wrap it up. But we have the story of Mass Effect coming up this weekend. It's a documentary series that we've been working on. The UK team and Richard Lee and Chris Beaumont here went to PAX recently to go talk to the Mass Effect Andromeda developers about the behind the scenes, about starting over from the original trilogy. You can go watch that. That'll be up this weekend. It'll be 2 episodes. They'll be publishing. Check it out. I've seen a lot of it. It looks great. You can check out more if you want to know more about behind the scenes of Mass Effect Andromeda. But thanks so much for stopping by today. That is our show. We will be back next week, as always, 11 a.m. Pacific, daylight savings time. We'll see you then.
Game Rant did a